この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Oh.
So this is Sushi Bites, huh? Seems like there's a lot of Kamen Rider games recently.
Well, it is the 50th anniversary of the franchise. When will we get a better time to look at these absolutely brilliant, wonderful and beloved games?
I'm not saying Flagrant Weeaboo should cover something else, but come the f*** on, man. First it was Memory of Heroes, then it was not one, not two, but like 2.5 Batch Ride War games. The dude is clearly obsessed.
Yes, and he did promise to do a full Batch Ride War Genesis Sushi Bites episode too. And I think I heard something about a Super Smash Bros. Episode on Kamen Rider.
Does he plan to watch the first episode of each Kamen Rider era? Mad lad!
Well, he did say something like that in the Discord.
And now my game. Kamen Rider Ghost Game de Kaigan. Well, let's get this over with. Welcome to Sushi Bites. Welcome back to our Kamen Rider coverage. Didn't you hear? We're a Kamen Rider show now. All Kamen Rider, all the time. Kamen Rider Ghost Game de Kaigan. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up based on the Ghost series. It was released on December 2nd, 2015 on the Japanese 3DS eShop for 1,000 yen, around $10 US. While this is an instantly enjoyable action game with some decent controls, it's more like a paid demo of the more feature-complete All Kamen Rider Rider Revolution. It's the same gameplay, same art style, and same animations. Featuring just 10 stages of generic, unchanging gameplay, this game has little to break up the monotony, save for 2 motorcycle stages that are over no sooner than they begin. Throughout this very short, less than an hour experience, you'll be able to play as one of 2 riders, Kamen Rider Ghost and Kamen Rider Spectre. Ghost has 4 forms, his default form, Ore, and 3 extra forms, Musashi, Robin, and Billy the Kid. Spectre is only available in one of 2 flavors, the default Spectre and the Tutankhamun version. Both characters, while having multiple forms, only have 2 ultimate special moves, which do not change depending on their form. For example, if you are playing as regular Ghost or one of his other forms, you'll still have the same ultimate attacks. The game has cutscenes, which are in the form of basic text and character portraits, and outside of the story there is no way to play missions elsewhere or any other modes. You can use the 3DS to scan QR codes on Kamen Rider toys to unlock one-time use consumables, but other than that, there really is nothing of interest going on at all. This reminds me a little of games like Dead Rising Case Zero, where what is obviously a demo of another game is modified enough so it can be sold as a downloadable title. And while I understand the game is meant to be breezy and short, $10 for a game that took me 47 minutes to beat seems pretty egregious. So what I'm saying in a roundabout way is that this game isn't worth the effort. You'd need access to the Japanese eShop for starters, which requires a Japanese account and a Japanese 3DS. By which point, even the staunchest of Western Kamen Rider fans would probably have directed their attention towards one or both of the physically released Kamen Rider titles for 3DS instead, provided they have a method of playing them. But I'll make a case for Game de Kaigan being a humorous diversion if you're into preservation and emulation. Nintendo 3DS emulation has reached a highly playable state in recent years, so any bored Kamen Rider fan looking to kill an hour can do a lot worse than Game de Kaigan. And because it's remarkably easy to mod games on the 3DS emulator Citra, I was looking at Kaigan's internal file system and discovered the game uses plain text for its cutscenes. I gave it a little poke, and it turns out that the game's font has English characters. Hence that wonderful little intro to this daft short Sushi Bites episode. That was all in-engine. I modified the in-game files to make that happen. But on a serious note, I'm making a kind of plea, I suppose. If you know any Kamen Rider fans who'd be interested in translating this game's script, get them to fire me an email. Let's translate this game for farts and laughs. The Kamen Rider games released physically for the Nintendo 3DS are, from what I gather, quite lengthy and quality games. The same cannot be said for the downloadable titles, but one that does stand out for the right reasons is Kamen Rider X-Aid Mighty Action X. Released on the Nintendo 3DS eShop on December 1st, 2016, the only way to get this title was to redeem a special code that came bundled with all Kamen Rider Rider Revolution. In other words, if you didn't buy that game brand new back when it came out, you're up shit creek without a paddle. Which is an absolute shame, because honestly, this should have been the paid game instead of Game to Kaigan. I'd still wince at the idea of paying $10 for this, though. Maybe $1? The thing about Kamen Rider X-Aid is that it is video game themed. The Rider's forms are essentially video game cartridges, which when plugged into the gamer driver, lets our hero transform into that particular video game character. So you've basically got free reign to do whatever crazy junk you want. Because he's the video game themed Kamen Rider, think of the possibilities! The movies had the right idea. In the first movie of the Kamen Rider Heisei Generation series, X-Aid works with Kamen Rider Ghost, Gaim and Wizard to stop the evil Dr. Pac-Man from biting people and spreading his Pac-Man fever across Japan. And of course, only Kamen Rider Ghost and X-Aid's Ghost Gamer can kill Pac-Man, considering that's how it works in the games. I bet this movie is absolutely bonkers. So we should expect them to go all out with an X-Aid game, right? Well, no. You can see the gameplay. When it came time to promote Rider Revolution, Bandai Namco included this little freebie to sweeten the deal. Mighty Action X is a playable form of the video game that X-Aid uses to transform into his action gamer form. A neat little diversion, and nothing more. It's a standard 2D platformer with some basic moves. X-Aid can jump, punch, spin, and do a rider kick, the latter half of his moveset depleting the pink gummies you've collected. One level has a branching path that encourages replaying to collect everything, but even then it's not going to take long to beat, what with its 4 stages and a single boss. The cynic in me says they gave this game away for free, because people would have moaned about paying for a game that's so short. Good luck getting a hold of it now through any legitimate means. If I was to recommend a 3DS Kamen Rider game to you, I would just point you toward all Kamen Rider Rider Revolution. Powered by the same game engine as Game to Kaigan, but with 75 plus playable characters from practically every Kamen Rider series up to the game's release, including characters who don't usually get the spotlight, such as Fourze's Nadeshiko, or the Omega and Alpha Riders from the darker web series Kamen Rider Amazons. The going price for this one is around £35 and upwards. Hey look, a seller I've bought from! So basically there's copies out there in the world, but you'll need either a Japanese 3DS or a custom firmware in order to play them. I might do a deep dive on the All Kamen Rider series at some point, but it goes all the way back to the Nintendo DS, with each game getting bigger and featuring even more playable characters than the last. I'm surprised they didn't bring All Kamen Rider to the Nintendo Switch, with the new Reiwa Riders playable. Well, who knows what the 50th anniversary will bring. Hopefully something exciting. This has been Sushi Bites. Thanks for watching.